Thank you. I'd like to welcome you to our 17th convention in Houston. We chose Houston this year because we anticipated that the Orion capsule would be launched for the first time shortly after the conference, and that is now scheduled for December. So the world's eyes are going to be turned towards Houston this fall. But I want to, and returning the United States to manned space flight is, of course, a very useful step towards giving back to Mars. But it doesn't in itself get us to Mars. And we haven't been going to Mars for quite some time. The problem, as I see it, is that the fundamental method of operation of our space program, and in particular the manned space program, has been deeply flawed for the past 40 years. It was not deeply flawed before that, and quite the contrary, and therefore produced astonishing results. So what was the difference in the way NASA operated during the Apollo period and the way it has operated since? Okay. The first answer that many people come up with is, well, NASA had much more funding during the Apollo period than now, so naturally they could do much more things. But that, in fact, is not true. It's not true at all. If you take NASA's funding from 1961 to 1973, that is from Kennedy's speech initiating the Apollo push to the moon, down to the final Apollo Skylab missions. If you take all that money, translate it into today's dollars, and divide the sum by 13 years in question, you come out to $20 billion per year in today's money. NASA's budget this year is $17 billion. So while NASA's funding this year is a little bit less than its Apollo average, it's not substantially less. It's not a factor of 4 or a factor of 10 less. It's 15% less. And there have been years since 1990 to the present in which NASA's budget in inflation-adjusted dollars was actually greater than its Apollo average. NASA has spent as much money in real dollars from 2000 to today as it did from 1961 to 1973. Okay, that's amazing. If you think about the fact that from 1961 to 1973, NASA not only flew Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and Skylab, okay, but they also developed hydrogen-oxygen rocket engines, multi-stage heavy-lift launch vehicles, in-space life support systems, spacesuits, interplanetary navigation techniques, interplanetary communication techniques, propulsive soft landing techniques, re-entry technology, RTGs, substantial amount of development for nuclear rocket engines. They flew 40 lunar and planetary robotic missions. That is, in terms of both technology development and missions performed, they vastly outperformed the same period of the past 14 years, in which we flew, I think, about actually 40 shuttle missions, and they did substantial construction on the International Space Station, and they did a couple of repair missions to Hubble, and they did about a dozen planetary probes, but no significant technology development. And this is particularly peculiar when, in fact, the justification for not having a focused program like Apollo that was given by both Administrator O'Keefe and also Administrator Bolden is that we want to have a technology-driven thing in which we work on developing technologies and then the ability to go anywhere, anytime will materialize after these technologies appear. And in fact, there's been no substantial technology development, certainly not remotely comparable to what happened during the Apollo period when they were focused.